you from the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Well, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the 250th episode of Pixelated Paranormal. I, of course, am Shawn, and I am full of banh mi meatballs. And with me, as always, is Presto.
I still just have one hand, so, you know, I'm like a...
Hey, it's something about being consistent.
I'm like a salty pirate.
Fucking gimp.
Just a bootleg pirate, man. You can't even do anything.
Yeah. Oh wait, hold on. I'm supposed to do my normal. You know, what's up, all you ghosts and ghostettes and crococoons and crocodingos?
Bro, with your Chris Elliott looking ass hand from Scary Movie 2.
Yeah. Sounds like Daddy's still on pills.
Yeah.
Crocodoons and crocodingo.
Nice.
Well, you also just heard the smooth, dulcet sounds of Big Steven joining us for Big 250.
Word up. I was usually in the back seat, but I've been in the trunk for a minute.
Right. Oh,
battered
shit.
and bruised.
Well, it's good to have you back. Yeah, man. It's good to have you back from
famished.
The beyond. Hey, that's all right, though. That's all right. Yeah. Preston, anything new with you, buddy?
No, not really. You know.
Yeah. Me neither, really. I'm just looking at a mountain of toys from Baba's Rock I need to put up on a shelf, but other than that, nothing new with me. Steve, get us up to date, buddy. How have you been?
Sure, it's been a minute. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. As everybody knows what I do with my job, it can be quite stressful and quite challenging, especially in these days. And so I just need to take some time for myself. I also been finally going to therapy, which is a good thing. And
hell yeah.
That's a challenging in itself, but also rewarding in itself as well. I come to the decision that when it comes to the podcast, I felt that if I'm in a negative headspace, it's not good to put the negativity out into the world. So I felt like I don't contribute much, even though the guys here say that I do. And, you know, and I have other listeners that tell me that I do. But I definitely wanted to get on here for this episode, mainly for the number. Also, you know, to stop all, you know, rumors and confusion that I've left the show. I did get a couple
been all over the headlines.
I did get a couple text messages. Are you still on Pixelated Paranormal? Because like people are hearing that we're getting ready to switch the feeds, et cetera, et cetera. So like, they're like, oh, I don't really see you mention much, and so you know, had to get on and set the motherfuckers straight.
That's right. Yeah.
But other than that,
well,
take care of yourselves, everybody, and I'm not trying to be too preachy or nothing, bring the mood down or whatnot, but yeah, trying to be better, trying to do better, and yeah, there you go.
Perfect, man. Well, I mean, I'll piggyback on what you just said and argue that I think you bring a lot to the show, but if you get in that headspace where you're like, you know what, I need a break, or if you don't feel into it, then I mean, by all means, taking time for yourself has been very important, you know, and nobody wants to just show up and sit behind a microphone if they're not in the right mood for it. You clearly always have a spot here. Your back seat is always going to have your name on it, buddy, so don't you dare worry your pretty little head.
Cool, man. I mean, Preston's the handicap, so, you know, we put the handicap in the back. Gives him a little more room to spread out.
On there.
Yeah, you know what? I made your guys' trip to town easier with the fucking handicap sticker. So you know, you two bitches should be grateful. Is what I'm trying to say.
For real. You know, I got that. Dude, it is really nice when you do have a handicap, you know, option. When you have someone with you that needs a little extra help with the walking and stuff, it's really cool to be able to park closer.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, that's one thing we didn't do when Shayla had her knee surgery is we didn't even ask for a placard, but that thing would have come in handy.
It would have.
Countless times, man. Jeebus.
People should utilize it if they have it, you know, if they really have the disability. But I know a lot of people run into that. They feel bad about using it. But if it's given to you for legit reasons, man, use it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's there
That's
for.
what it's there
you
for.
know what?
This is a PSA podcast.
Yeah.
Our opinions are our own. Do not.
There you go. They do not directly reflect those of our sponsors.
Yeah.
We have sponsors.
Well, here and there, yeah. I mean, we at least got Big Dobbs, and
True.
most of our views probably line up. Maybe, I don't know if all of them do, but anywhoozle, he's cut from the same cloth. But anyway, it is episode 250, and I just want to say thanks to you two guys and to Rob for just being here for the whole ride. 250 plus episodes we've done, and it's been a fun ride.
That's a lot of episodes.
The future's looking bright. We're going to get this new feed going and get that all up to speed. But otherwise, yeah, I just want to say thanks to you guys, for being there with me and for taking on this little hobby and project with me. And it's just been nothing but a good time.
Oh,
For sure,
thanks.
man.
Well,
Same
as
goes to
people
you,
have
man.
well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
But not
yeah.
Preston.
Yeah,
Fuck
Boom.
that guy.
Dropping
Yeah.
the bars.
fuck me. Yeah.
No, you did a pretty good job of that yourself.
He
pal.
won't.
You
Yeah,
definitely
he won't remember all this in the morning with all them fucking pills he's on. Pop, pop, pop.
Well, by the title, you may have guessed it. This episode is Yokai Part 2. And we've had a lot of people comment on episode 162. That's where we did a little dive into the yokai. It was a lot of fun. We barely scratched the surface. So on this episode, the main crux will be another dive into another handful of interesting, dare I say, sexy Japanese spirit/demons. But before that, Pixelated Paranormal. We also love ourselves some pop culture. So up first in the news, we got to talk about the killer clowns from outer space returning back into the headlines and back into the pop culture scene. There's a brand new vinyl score from John Massari that Waxwork Records just put out. It actually sold out rather quickly, so that's rad. Steve and I both
Fuck
got a
yeah,
copy
we
of
did,
that.
son. Let's go. It's so
Yeah,
nice. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
I'm looking right at my I got the poster in my front room, but I also have the computer mat, the mouse pad mat of like that all the horror figures, and right there in the
Yeah.
middle is Killer Clowns. Let's go.
Fuck
That
yeah, dude.
vinyl is awesome, man. The artwork's great. The bright cotton candy colored. Oh god, it's so perfect.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Presto, I take it you've obviously seen the movie, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's been
Awesome.
like, I don't know, like 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. It's been a hot minute, but
Hell yeah. Well, and I mean, clearly by the namesake of the podcast, we are all, big gamers. And that's the big news I want to talk about here is outside of, the film score dropping on vinyl, there's going to be a brand new video game dropping from TerraVision in 2023, which is going to be fucking fantastic because, with the success of the ill-fated Friday the 13th game, which I still argue is one of the best horror movie games of all times, and then also the Evil Dead game. There's so many others coming out now that are those asymmetric video games for horror fans. Killer Clowns, out of nowhere, out of left field, they made a big announcement that they got a video game coming, which is just going to be fucking awesome.
Well, do you know why all this happened? Like all of a sudden, the vinyl, then the video game news dropped, then the talks of a future film. Do you know why all this is happening?
Well, the vinyl actually was supposed to be out last year. And again, this is not vinyl talk, but we'll clear that up pretty quick. But no, it was supposed to come out actually last year, but then there's a big vinyl shortage and they couldn't
I'm
get
talking
records
about
pressed
like
on time.
the
but-
property itself.
Oh, no.
So like, I don't really know because I don't have it in front of me. I tried looking for it again on Facebook, but Joel, our buddy Joel,
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
he goes into he shared an article a while back, or whenever the game was announced and stuff. Basically, whoever owns the licensing for Killer Clowns from Outer Space, it got sold or something got freed up to where now they can start marketing it again. That's why at Spirit Halloween you're seeing so much merch.
Last year you had the dancing Killer Clowns.
And this year
Yeah.
it's, everything from costumes to party plates to everything. So they're really going all out with that nostalgia for that and like the goofiness of it. And then like the video game itself no one really knows much about it, but they were kind of, when they were interviewing at Gamescom, basically it'll be, survivors versus clowns, but there's going to be more AI built into the game as well, kind of like Evil Dead did. With different things in the thing. So, like, the clowns will have to abduct citizens, wrap them in the cotton candy cocoons, and then the survivors will have to come take them down, etc. Probably. But it looks pretty cool. I'm definitely excited for it.
Fuck yeah. Well, and I know, like, there's been talks of doing another film for quite a while, and that kind of comes and goes, but... and you mentioned the Marcel the Shell with shoes on, right?
Yes.
Or did you not?
No, but that was what that was also why the success of that too, because they have something to do with this movie too. I remember.
Yeah, one of the Chiodo brothers has to do with the animation of the new Marcel the Shell with shoes on, and one of the lead animators had actually worked with the Chiodo brothers. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. On
that name is so hilarious to me because there's a band called the Chiodos Brothers. And they're like a straight edge band from back in the emo days. So I hear that name, I just think of that band. But
well, what's interesting is they help with a Netflix special about, like, I forget what it's called, Alien Christmas. But it's like a little computer animated movie about aliens and elves on Christmas. And one of them helped with the animations. They met one of the lead animators, and then they're working together again. So, like, that's the thing too, is they're kind of just coming out of, this obscurity and doing all these projects. And people are like, oh my God, they've been working this whole time. They just hadn't used that property for anything.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll keep it.
Yeah.
Keep it prosthetics, costumes, etc. And we'll be golden.
Yeah, that's what I think, man. Well, speaking of killer clowns, let's jump into the next news story. Folks, it looks like creepy clowns are popping back up yet again and stalking children throughout the town. Police were recently called after a couple kids were stalked by a creepy clown, promoting fears of the killer clown trend from just a few years back. Police were called to Hampton Pier in Herne Bay, Kent, in the United Kingdom, after a 17-year-old and his friends said they were creepily followed by a clown who walked quickly behind them before then crouching behind a wall out of sight. In a Facebook post, one of the moms of the boys wrote, "My 17-year-old son has come home with a friend and they have both been followed along Hampton Pier to just past the park by somebody dressed in a full clown outfit. They were acting strangely, walking fast behind them, hiding and crouching behind the seawall, and acting creepily like they were acting out a killer clown." She went on to say, "My son and his friends hid for a couple minutes, and this clown was just stood by the park along the seawall swaying side to side. They tried to take a video, but it was too dark. So keep an eye out, folks. That killer clown craze might just be coming back along with the movie."
Bullshit.
And you said that this took place in Great Britain, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
God.
United Kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah, the United Kingdom. That is the home of Sam the Sandown Clown. So maybe maybe it was old Sam and not some fucking idiot dressing up in a costume.
Dude.
I mean, this could be a real life paranormal event right here.
First off, the article is talking about how back in 2016 people dressed as clowns were spotted across the UK and US. All right, it made sense. It was announced, it was coming out, and 2017. The world has changed dramatically from then and now. Don't do this. You're lucky it's only doing it in Britain right now because they don't have guns.
Yep.
Stop this shit. It's not cute.
Yeah.
It's not TikTok views. It's not creepy. It's dumb. It's stupid. And you're just going to get somebody killed. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
It drives me crazy, man. At first it was cute, but it's like, dude, there's so much, people are so on edge, man. I mean,
yeah.
We just had a shooting near our house. People are way too crazy, and everybody's looking for a reason to explode. Don't give them that reason by trying to do something, a prank, a gimmick. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth your life.
Like you said, this is just a PSA episode, man.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, warning, don't do this at home. That's really a fool's errand to try to do that shit. Well, our next news story is a shout out to Big John Wiener.
Uh-oh.
An Ohio man is now awake from being in a coma after suffering at least 20,000 bee stings last week. Austin Bellamy, 20 years old from Ohio, was in a tree trimming branches with his grandmother and uncle below when he unknowingly cut through a bee's nest. His grandmother, Phyllis Edwards, told the news station that bees swarmed out of the nest when he started cutting them and had difficulties anchoring himself to the tree. He was hollering, "Help, help me, help!" and nobody would help him. I was going to try to climb the tree ladder and help Austin. I see how high he was, but I couldn't get to him because I was surrounded in bees. Bellamy's mother, Shauna Carter, described the attack as looking like her son had a black blanket from his head to his neck and then further down onto his arm.
It's like when Steve-O put all them bees on his nuts and dick in the newest Jackass. Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, both Bellamy's grandmother and uncle were also attacked by bees, mentioning that they left stingers that were roughly 1 inch long all over them and Austin. Oh, man, yeah.
Dude.
When I rubbed his head on Friday before they airlifted him away, he felt like he was becoming a porcupine. That's how pokey they were.
Oh, my God.
Bellamy's family said he was stung at least 20,000 times during the frightening attack, and his mother added that he ingested approximately 30 bees as well. She said her son suffered a kidney failure and medical officials had to suck the bees out of his airways over the weekend.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Bellamy, who was previously in a coma at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, will make a full recovery from the attack.
PSA to anybody who's listening, if you suffer from more than 10,000 bee stings, make sure a loved one knows to rub your body down in rubbing alcohol so that it shrinks your pores and pops the stingers out so that you don't fucking die.
PSA, bitch! Let's go! Dude, so I don't really know much about bees, but I would assume... Because like I said earlier, like in the Jackass show, Steve-O did that thing with the bees on his genitalia, but they weren't actively angry stinging. So there's a difference between, because like people will get their like whole arm, whole arm or even body encased with bees and nothing happens unless they feel threatened. This dude sawed into an entire nest and then they felt threatened, so it was even more intense. And it's crazy the story happened because I was playing The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, and I was playing the game and I was looking around, and that game is really bad for OCD, like have to collect them all because you'll just go through tons of things to loot. So I'm hitting A over this, and then I go to a tree and I thought there was something on the side of it that would let me mess with it. Well, when I messed with it, instead of collecting the honey, it actually it dropped or something or fell. And then I became surrounded with bees, and no matter how much ointment or potions I took, I ended up dying. Like it just continuously drained until you died. Like there's no way to not die from it. Like so, it's weird that I got this story right after that happened in the video game today. Weird.
Yeah, God, that's gotta hurt. So,
I couldn't imagine when I was a kid.
Badly.
I remember I was really young. I don't remember it too much. I've heard the story, but I remember the pain. What happened is I was really young, and they had a can of Pepsi, and a bee had flown into, like, was getting some of the sweet shit off the lid of the pop can.
Sugar, we call that.
Yeah. And then I went, and I didn't know, and when I took a drink, it bit me on the lip, and then
stung you on the lip.
It got me on the lip, and then the Pepsi got into my mouth and it went into my throat and stung my throat. Gross. And I started suffocating. It was wild.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was wild. They had to give me some person there at the park had to give me mouth to mouth until the ambulance got there. It was crazy.
For real?
Yeah.
And we've never heard this story until now.
All I remember is just the sting pain. I don't remember much of anything else. Just hearing the story.
Man,
it's amazing what therapy will do, bro. Get you these fucking memories coming back, son.
You've been holding out. God damn.
Little
Steven Wiener.
Fuck that bee, dude.
Little Steven Wiener.
Fuck that bee, bro.
I've spit out my share of bees as well, leaving a can of pop sitting out and then going to take a drink of it and like, what the hell's that? And then I've spit a couple bees out from when I was a kid.
Bastards.
A friend of mine just got stung on the hand by A friend of mine just got stung on the hand by a wasp yesterday. He was at his grandma's swimming in her pool before she covered it up for the summer. And he said a wasp flew in, landed in the water, and he looked over and saw it. And he's like, oh, I'm going to help that little wasp. And he scooped it up, in a handful of water. And as he was getting ready to dump it on the side of the concrete beside the pool, it stung him in the hand and then fell off and crawled out of the water puddle.
I have no sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you touch the fucking wasp?
I don't know, man.
Natural selection. You land in the water, you're done. You can't figure... I'm not touching I'm not getting stung. I might help. I mean, I'll definitely help like a cat or a dog or something, but like a wasp? Nah, man.
I was on Reddit on the Human Being Bros subreddit, and there's a really fun little video of a guy who saved a squirrel from drowning in his pool.
I've seen that, and he just like passing out.
Yeah, he gets out and just goes to sleep from exhaustion.
He's like, are you alive? And he like touches it, and it's like, what? And he just keeps fading out.
Yep.
It was very sad, but cute in a way.
Yeah, I mean, he said the squirrel was okay, because I was kind of waiting for one of those little lad label videos where, like, there's fun little music behind it, little squirrel passes out from exhaustion, and then maybe the next scene is him like, and now they're best friends, and Charlie the squirrel comes over every Sunday for a handful of acorns. No, just faded to black. Well, to finish things out, right? Let's finish things off and go back to England to Manchester. Now, I'm going to basically just summarize what happens here because the article is written kind of shaddily. But basically, Joshua Dobson was on the run from the police because he stole a car, went to a gas station, got petrol, and then didn't pay for the gasoline either. So this guy's really out for a double whammy. Well, he went on a police chase, evaded the police, ditched the car, and then ran into a neighboring house to hide from the police. Well, when the police started searching houses looking for the suspect, they couldn't seem to find anybody in any of the houses besides those who actually belonged there, right? Well, as one of the police officers was looking around, he noticed a big-ass giant stuffed bear seemed to be breathing very slowly every time the police looked at it. Well, as it turns out, Dobson cut a hole in the bottom of this bear and crawled inside to hide from police. And you guys can see the picture of this dopey little stuffed bear. Yep, he just Dr. Giggles that fucking bear and climbed right inside.
I just got that movie on my video the other day.
Well, spoiler alert. Yeah, so they say now he is stuffed behind bars after being sentenced last week for the theft of a motor vehicle, driving while disqualified, and making off from a petrol station without payment. But yeah, he just straight up sliced that bear's booty hole and climbed right inside.
Dude, if I was a judge, I'd be like, all right, man, you're going to get a little bit of time off for creativity.
Yeah. I'm going to let you off with a warning, a very strict warning and a stern finger shaking.
Of course, somebody from the UK is this clever.
I love it, man. And the thing is, like, everybody knows.
It's like something out of a Ricky Gervais skit.
Everybody knows if you're hiding from somebody underneath a pile of blankets, you hold your breath. But then again, if you just got done doing like a high-speed chase and then like, trying to find a house to break into, you probably had some extreme adrenaline and just couldn't help but just sit there going inside that fucking teddy bear. Oh, well, props for creativity.
Truth.
Well, boys, way back on episode 162, we did a lengthy episode all about the Japanese folklore of the yokai. And people not only loved it, but they also asked us to do a follow-up. So here we are, almost 100 episodes later. Now, the first one I want to talk about is called the Gashadokuro, which I aptly am pronouncing wrong. Also, it's great because people commented on the YouTube video calling out our poor mispronunciation, and I wanted to comment back, have you not listened to our show?
Yeah.
But the Gashadokuro, this one actually is a throwback to our previous yokai episode, where Presto, you referenced your interest in yokai is partially due to a wood block print called Takesha the Witch and the Skeleton Spectre, circa 1844, by the artist Utagawa Kuniyoshi.
It was like a Cuphead boss.
It kind of does, right? And this print is really slick. It's got a female wearing a kimono kind of hiding behind a torn up wall of this hut. And then 2 cowering samurai and a big-ass skeleton leaning in the wall that he just ripped down. Well, that actual image has been used in countless video games and countless anime as well.
You're talking about
well, presto, buddy.
what video game?
Castlevania #1.
What game's that? I'm
Yep.
sucker.
Well, presto, we should have done.
All right,
some
stop the
reading on-
stop the fucking car, kick him out. He doesn't know Castlevania. Nope, can't do it anymore. Sorry.
Yeah,
we're firing Steve.
You lied on your application.
Yeah.
Right. No, I know that's a game, man. That shit's whack.
Well,
Even Capcom don't give a shit about that game, or Konami, whoever owns it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you make something that's amazing even better? You can't beat perfection. Well, presto, we should have done some reading further into that giant skeleton yokai because it's actually a pretty badass specter with an even more badass story behind it. So again, in the image you talked about previously, the princess recites a spell written on a hand scroll, summoning a giant skeleton. And this monstrosity busts out the black void, crashing its way through a tattered palace, and then its gnarly bony fingers are reaching down to simply terrorize a couple samurai. And in the print, we see 2 cowering samurai and a giant skeleton sticking its torso up through the side of the house, getting ready to kill the 2 samurai. And it's pretty terrifying because the Gasha Dokuro takes the form of a gigantic skeleton and are said to be about 15 times larger than the average person. So that means if we were to guess that this thing's got to be 82 feet tall, because the average height of a person back then was probably right around 5'6". So these things are giant-sized, even bigger than the 12-foot tall yard decorations from Home Depot that they were selling a few years ago. You guys remember those things?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well, this year, this is not a sponsored episode from Home Depot, but they have a giant pumpkin skeleton this year, which is awesome. And they also have like a 15-foot Grim Reaper. But anyway, the ones at Home Depot were selling were 12 feet tall, so these yokai are 7 times as tall as the Home Depot skeletons. Ooh.
Go big, go home.
Anyway, these giant skeletons are said to be created from combining the remains of soldiers that have died in battle, whose bodies rot in the fields, and also victims of famine who die unknown in the wilderness that rarely receive proper funeral rites. Well, unable to pass on, the angry souls of those who were not provided with proper burial rites are reborn as hungry, pissed-off ghosts, longing eternally for the lives they once had before. Their bodies died with the anger and the pain still in their hearts, and it's that energy that remains long after their death and even longer after the flesh is rotted away from their bones, thus powering the animated skeletons. And as their bodies decay, their anger ferments into a powerful supernatural grudge against any living soul, and that grudge is what twists them into a supernatural force. Well, when the bones of hundreds of victims gather together in one mass, they then can form into a humongous skeletal monster known as the Yokai Gasha Dokuro. They wander around towering over the countryside in the darkest hours of the night, searching for something to curb their hunger, kind of like the Wendigo. And if they should happen upon a human out alone traveling at night on the roads, the yokai will silently creep up and catch their victims, crushing them with their giant bony hands and biting off their heads, guzzling down the blood spraying out like a giant soda pop. Ironically discarding those bodies into the earth so that they too may lay and ferment in hate and anger. So it's kind of like you're just, refueling yourself for later. But dear listeners, if you find yourselves traveling alone late at night, there's always a way to know if you're being stalked by the Gasha Dokuro. If you find yourself with a chill running down your spine and that familiar feeling of being watched, listen for the telltale sound of a large ringing caused by the rattling of large teeth, because as it walks along the countryside, the beast's teeth can be heard jiggling around, rattling inside the hollow skull. But don't be surprised if you can't see the towering behemoth out in the moonlight, because the Gasha Dokuro are also said to possess the power of invincibility and indestructibility. Since it's composed mostly out of just bones of people who are already deceased, you can't kill the beast. So all you can do, once you hear the sound of the teeth rattling around, is to run like hell and try to hide. Because you can't kill the Gashadokuro, it's already dead. Thus, no matter what you try to do to bring it down, it will continue hunting its prey until all that pent-up anger has completely burned up, like some kind of paranormal petrol. Because only after it's spent all its energy will the bones then crumple back up, causing the Gashadokuro to collapse in its tracks, and only then will you be safe. But where the heck did these big old bad boys come from? Well... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So in the Discord chat, I posted these two links. Should be different links, yeah. So there's these video games called Neo, Nioh. They're done by, I think, Bandai Namco.
Bandai Namco.
And it's currently on PC and PlayStation consoles. And this is Yokai the game. All the enemies it's a Souls-like game, so extremely hard, based on stamina, blocking, parrying, shit like that. But it's like, you should see some of these characters, man. It's fucking outrageous. Like,
pretty slick,
yeah,
huh?
and like it's got all the big ones, but it doesn't have this one from that painting. Because I was like, man, that'd be so cool to see that in video game form. But so I put the two links up here. Just see some of these pictures of these beasts. It's just
that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, this game is gorgeous, but I don't fuck with these games that much because they're just so hard. But,
they're abusive, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really cool. I respect the hell out of them. So if you're looking for a game about yokai, check out Neo, Nioh, and get in on that Japanese horror shit.
Fuck yeah! I'll probably watch some YouTube videos at least, man. I want to see how they portray
cool.
these things, man. Well, folks, let's jump into story time, shall we? One of the first known myths of the Gashadokuro dates back to 10th century Japan, where a prominent samurai named Masakado from the Kanto region was ambushed one day by his three cousins, all of whom were quarreling over the marriage interest of the same woman. Well, outraged by this act of treachery, Masakado retaliated by burning down the residences of all three cousins, accidentally killing, though, his uncle named Kunika.
Just so angry over trying to get the same girl, man. Like, come on. Disgusting.
Small villages,
like,
man.
Come on, man.
Another samurai named Yoshimasa, who was either Masakado's parental uncle or cousin, wanted to avenge Kunika and challenge Masakado to a duel, but soon lost after the battle even began. So after losing the duel, an embarrassed Yoshimasa called up Yoshikane for, help in this case, because he's got his ass beat.
It's so much drama.
Yeah, I know. Well...
It's like Grey's Anatomy. Samurai days.
Yep. Well, it's a small village, so it just happens that Yoshikane was yet another one of Masakado's cousins.
See? All in the family.
And guess what he did? If you guys put your money on also fought for the love of the same woman, you guessed it. Yes, everybody in the village was in love with the same girl.
Oh my God, what is in the water for this woman?
Well, there's one woman in the entire village, and she's not related to Masakado, thank God.
Sorry, we're just fighting. It's wild.
Well, Yoshikane was also the assistant governor for the Kazusa province, and he gathered up as many warriors as he could and waged a battle on Masakado, who only had about 100 poorly equipped soldiers in his village to fight back on this massive invasion. Yet, Masakado was still able to inflict heavy casualties on Yoshikane and Yoshimasa's forces, thus estimating to be over 1,000 soldiers strong. So even being outnumbered 10-1, Masakado was just an all-around badass. Well, a few years after this all went down, Yoshikane, anxious to avenge his humiliating defeat, once again battled with Masakado, and this time, Masakado was injured in the fight and tried to flee with his wife, Yoshikane's daughter. but was unsuccessful. So it sounds like he didn't even get to marry this chick, but he ends up marrying Yoshikane's daughter just to be like, nah.
Wow.
Well, in the year 939, Masakado started a minor rebellion referred to as the Tangyo Disturbance, where he formed an attack on one of the central government's outposts in Hitachi province, and then later that same year he conquered the Shimosuku and Kuzuku provinces, claiming the title of the new emperor. The government in Kyoto acknowledged the attacks as a revolt and then put a bounty on old Masakado's head. Well, a year later, in the year 940, his cousins Satomori and a dude named Hirasato waged another big-ass war on Masakado and his villages and managed to capture and decapitate Masakado and took his head all the way to the capital in Kyoto as a reward.
He's like, yo, you want to go fuck up my cousin? Bet.
Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out that Masakado's daughter, Takayasha Hime, happened to be a famous and powerful sorceress who was infuriated at the killing of her father because this simply, just disrespected him by murdering him. So, being the all-around badass HBIC, aka head bitch in charge, she conjured up the first Gashadokuro by casting a curse over the bones of those who had recently died in the battle where her father had fallen. And because fuck those assholes that killed her dad, she sent the hulking skeleton giant to take revenge and unleashed it on Kyoto. It ravaged the city until Masakado's head was then moved back to the palace called Shibisaki, which is a fishing village that eventually became Tokyo. The head then became a sort of demigod there with a grave still standing by where Tokyo Imperial Palace sits today. So, yeah, she basically just summoned up a fucking kaiju skeleton and just said, fuck you to everybody in Kyoto. Well, we shouldn't be too concerned for these giant kaiju skeletons these days because of the large amount of dead bodies required to form a single Gashadokuro. These abominations are much rarer today than they were in the earlier days, due to there being less wars and a lot less famine in modern everyday life compared to back in the 10th century. Well, after that little story time, I know what you guys are all thinking. Sure, giant cannibalistic skeletons are cool and all, but this is your 250th episode. You guys are probably thinking things would get a little, sexier, huh?
Don't worry,
Well,
I'm bringing the sexy at the end.
Okay, hey, don't worry, buddy. I'm going to warm him up, and then you're going to knock him down, right?
Yep.
All right, well, judging by Preston's forewarning, we're going to spice things up for you. This next one was brought to our attention by Chelsea, and at the time of recording episode 162, we had no clue this thing existed, but it was pretty eye-opening, and we had to make sure we included on the next episode about yokai.
Oh, snap.
We're talking about Shirimi, a.k.a. the Buttock Eyeball Ghost.
What a great name.
Oh, I know, right? Late one evening, a lone samurai was walking along the empty streets of Kyoto when he began to hear the sound of footsteps echoing down the cobblestone. Casually turning around, though, there was no one to be seen in the streets around him. So the samurai shrugged off the noise, assuming it was just a drunk stumbling down the street, or maybe a local shop owner returning to their storefront. And thus he continued on his way, with his sword always at the ready by his side. He made his way down the street, until he heard the sound of footsteps falling on the street behind him again. Quickly gripping the handle of his sword, he spun around, yet again, seeing only an empty street. So again, slightly confused, he turned back around, setting back on his way. But he took only a few more steps before hearing the sound of quickening footsteps, followed by a voice calling out to him, Please wait!" This time the samurai unsheathed his sword and spun around, ready to defend himself against the phantom-like antagonist. But he only saw the figure of a short, average-built man wearing an ornate kimono, walking up the cobblestone towards him, from about 50 feet away. Feeling his nerves sharpening, the samurai scoffed and asked what this person wanted. And the figure now began to slow its pace, cautiously approaching the samurai, as if it were now scared of the sword that he brandished. Well, the samurai took notice of the cautiousness of this man approaching, and again scoffed and put away his sword, no longer feeling any threat from this small man. But suddenly, as the man came closer to the samurai, he was baffled to see the man didn't have any facial features. There were no eyes, no nose, not even a mouth from which the call for help could have come from. And then before the samurai could move from his bewildered-like trance, the faceless entity reached down and lifted up his kimono, showing the samurai its genitals.
Look at my nuts.
Except it had no sexual organs either, only a smooth area where the penis or vagina should have been.
Ooh.
The air surrounding the samurai began to grow stale, and he felt confusion begin to fill his head. His thoughts were swimming around of what the hell this thing was and what the hell was going on. When suddenly the strange creature quickly turned around, bent over, and again lifted up the kimono, revealing its butt cheeks, which it teasingly began to slap, and after a few playful spankings, it grabbed both butt cheeks, one in each hand, and with buttocks high in the air, it pulled apart the cheeks to reveal one large, single, bright, blinking eyeball right where the anus should have been. The samurai looked on in horror as the creature's one big eyeball stared straight back at him from between two rosy butt cheeks. And then, as anyone would do in this moment, the samurai let out a loud shriek of terror, turned around, and ran for his life in the opposite direction. In Japanese folklore, it's mentioned that the shirimi has the physique of a human being and wears a kimono to look more like a human from afar, which thus helps it to entice people. However, it tends to hide its face, which is completely blank of any normal features. Now, this particular fact about this demon makes it even more terrifying to think about, because just how exactly can the shirimi see if it has no face? Which makes me wonder, is this thing just skulking around in alleyways, bent over with its little butt cheeks spread apart, watching passersby with its one big eye?
Wandering eye. Whispering eye.
Whispering eye. Yeah, I know. I thought about that and laughed. The shirimi has a set of criteria when attempting to scare people, though, so here it is. Take some notes so that maybe you aren't victim of its bizarre staring contest. Shirimi only appear during the night, making it... Now my doggy's snoring. Shirimi only appears during the night, making it easier to spot a target, especially someone traveling alone. It wears a kimono to make sure it looks like a normal human being, and entices people by calling out to them from behind. When the person moves towards shirimi, it shows its blank face and immediately turns around to show the eyeball in its butt. The eyeball keeps glowing and staring until the person runs away in fear, and thus they lose the staring contest, but they leave with the consolation prize of being scarred for the rest of their life.
No shit. It would be so creepy. I'd be like, just take me, please, because I don't ever want to remember this.
No shit. Yeah, just put me out of my misery. And then I also discovered real quick here that the eyeball butthole demon also has a cousin, known as the Nopirabu. This relative of the shirimi is called Nopirabu. And in Japanese legend, the Nopirabu is known to be a yokai that's faceless just like the shirimi. However, the way that Nopirabu scares people is completely different from the pervy actions of its cousin shirimi. The scenario is usually the same, except the Nopirabu is said to actually have facial features just like that of a human. But once it finally approaches the victim, it scares people by simply taking its hand and wiping away its face, shaking its faceless head at the unsuspecting person while it howls with laughter.
This thing is
So
not
also-
in that game. It was unfortunate
No?
because that would be fucking amazing. That'd be so good.
Maybe it's like a little hidden creature that you find, like if you just go exploring alleyways, like it just pops out.
It'd be
It's just like-
hilarious if like it's in the game and no one's found it yet. It's like that Easter egg that like no one's found.
It's the one thing in your bestie area that just has question marks by it.
Waiting for them to see that asshole.
I just want to get that last achievement where it says I find all the yokai, and there's one I can't seem to find.
And all of a sudden, boom, butthole with an eyeball.
Oh, man. Well, Preston, I'm going to set the bet here with eyeball butthole yokai. What did you bring to the table, buddy?
Well, I'm going to start off my segment by asking Shawn and Steve. It's a personal but important question. Do your balls have superpowers? And can they do anything special? Or, guys, are they just good old-fashioned man balls?
Well, I mean, we'll get into some biology classes and some, I don't know, philosophical things, but I mean, they do kind of create life, so it's kind of magical.
So Steve has magical balls. Shawn?
Your balls say that magical? Just falls under the umbrella of regular old man balls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just everybody gets that automatically. So yeah, it's just regular old.
Just
no super balls over here.
Well, let's take a moment and talk about the super powered amazeballs or terrific testicles of the Tanuki. So Tanukis teabagging humans are occasionally mistaken for the silhouettes of carp. Tanuki sometimes sell their testicles despite the magnitude of their own. Tanuki's testicles make fine turtle costumes.
What?
Tanuki testicles can scare the shit out of your friends. And they can be used to make delicious mochi. Ugh. They are
it's called tanuki.
Yeah. They're so ubiquitous that tanukis go to sideshows to laugh at tiny testicle tanukis. Like, look at that. Jerry's got little balls over there.
They're just fucking assholes.
Yeah. They can be used as warm blankets. So, I mean, you're out in the middle of the Japanese forest and you get cold one night, their balls just turn into blankets.
That old bat wing.
Yeah.
The old bat wing, yep.
Their testicles are an excellent substitute for a sumo wrestling ring. So, I mean WWE style, like you could just pop your balls up and be like, come on, let's wrestle, buddies. And my favorite is they can bludgeon a catfish to death. Like, you can use them as a weapon. Now,
they're noodling.
Yeah.
Why is it just a catfish?
Yeah.
You just like whip his nuts out and he's like, I'm going to beat this catfish to death with my nuts.
Well, I mean, sometimes you got to be able to catch your dinner, you know? And that's how they do
else.
It. Yeah.
Why do you got to go after a catfish? It's low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit. I'm going to butcher this.
The
alternate names for the tanuki could be baka danuki, also referred as to majuini or mammy in some areas. They like to live in the mountains and forests found throughout Japan, and they're carnivorous. They feed on small, wild animals with a fondness for alcohol. My man. I think I like these guys. Now, the tanuki rivals the kitsune for the most well-known animal yokai, sometimes called the raccoon dog in English. The tanuki, in fact, is a unique species of East Asian canine that resemble a badger or a raccoon. These shy nocturnal animals can be found all over the Japanese Isles. Tanuki statues are popular decorations in homes and shops, and they are beloved not only for their cuteness, but also for tales of mischief and trickery associated with them.
And they also were featured in that song from Limp Bizkit, I Did It All for Tanuki.
Yes. And you can take this cookie and shove it up your ass. Anyways, they possess...
But don't put your eye out.
They possess powerful magical abilities. They are similar to kitsune in their superb ability to change shape, and they have a jovial nature and delight in playing tricks on humans. Aside from their powerful abilities to change their shape, perhaps the most famous attributes that the tanuki possess is their massive, malleable, magical testicles, which they can adapt to any need. That's right, their testicles can be used as weapons, drums, fans to keep cool, fishing nets, and even umbrellas.
It's the MacGyver of the nutsack, and it's like a Swiss Army nutsack.
It is.
It's just fucking elephantitis.
Yeah. Often the Tanuki incorporate their testicles into their disguise. They can become a shopkeeper and its testicles transform into the shop, or perhaps they're a little bit tired walking, so their testicles become a palanquin, complete with servants to cart the Tanuki from place to place. And this is kind of like the weird folklore history side of it. There is a nursery rhyme, like how we teach kids, like the Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. Well, in Japan, they have a nursery rhyme for the Tanuki that children learn, and it's Tan Tan Tanuki no Katima wa Kazmoni no ni Bura Bura, which means Tan Tan Tanuki's balls, even when there is no wind, they swing. They swing. Now,
meanwhile, we just have a guy from Nantucket.
Yeah. In the ancient religions of the Japanese Isles, Tanuki were considered gods and rulers all over things in nature. But with the introduction of Buddhism, they gradually lost their status. Like other magical animals, they took on roles of messengers of the gods and guardians of local areas. While Tanuki are not generally feared or considered malicious, they are not entirely harmless either. Like humans, each one is unique and a unique individual. While many Tanuki are jovial do-gooders who love to, the company of humans, some local tales tell of horrible Tanuki who snatch humans to eat or spirit them away to become servants of the gods.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The most intelligent and magically...
naughty Tanukis.
Yeah. Adapt Tanuki have been known to adopt human names and practices such as gambling, drinking, and even administration in religious activities. Many go through their whole lives living among humans without ever being detected. And in human form, the Tanuki have proven to be as corruptible as the humans they emulate. Some Tanuki have well-earned reputations as thieves, drunkards, liars, and cheats. Fucking assholes. Additionally, many use their shape-shifting powers to transform into stones, trees, statues, and even ordinary household items in order to play tricks on people.
Like mimics.
Yeah. Some even transform into giant, horrible monsters, either to terrorize humans for pleasure or to scare them away from places they shouldn't be.
Naughty Tanuki.
Can I have that as a ringtone?
They're mostly nice, but there's some assholes out there.
Yeah,
Like
dude,
yeah.
Jesus. Well, buddy, this would not be Pixelated Paranormal if we didn't mention the Tanuki suit in Super Mario 3.
Overrated. MC
I loved it,
MC
man.
Kids is better. That's right, Rob. I'm bringing it back. No, Super Mario 3 is a fucking one of the highest rated games of all time for good reason.
I liked that deep cut, MC Kids.
Oh, dude, I love that game, and that game is such a Super Mario 3 ripoff in the worst ways.
Yeah, you got it though, right? Don't you have a copy of it?
Oh yeah, I love that game.
Hell yeah. Well, the Tanuki suit or Tanuki costume is a fairly uncommon item found in Super Mario 3, although that was my favorite suit in Super Mario 3, and also featured in some of the remakes. But basically, you guys remember you get that special green leaf, and it gave you flight power similar to the raccoon form, but I think if you hit up on the D-pad or whatever you did, you turn into a little statue, and it shows little Tanuki there with his magic wand and holding his hand out for a coin. And then enemies would walk past you, and if you jumped up high enough, you could turn into your statue form and take out just about any enemy in the game.
So what is the purpose of the statue? Like Preston was saying, transform yourself into stones, trees, statue.
I mean, the Tanuki yokai they turn themselves into stuff to evade people or to fool people, or just to cause confusion. So that's where that lore goes into Mario. Is by having that suit, if you're being, chased by an enemy or whatever, you can turn into the statue, and thus the turtle or Goomba will walk right past you because they're like, oh, that's just a regular statue. Where'd he go?
So okay. So it was, and obviously with Miyamoto and Nintendo, Japan, all that shit, it makes sense. Just wish Miyamoto had the balls to put
Yeah.
He's so
Also,
weird.
why couldn't the statue of Mario have two big gonads?
Well, because then we'd all be looking like that little Koopa right there, looking back like, huh?
What the fuck?
That would have been balls.
That would have been a great, instead of like a fireball, if you were in the Tanuki suit, like your balls were just like Stretch Armstrong and like nunchucks, and like your testicles just flew out and hit the enemies and destroyed them. Like that
Imagine-
would have made
You imagine
Made
the
my
8-bit
childhood.
Animation, the 8-bit animation, like when you would like use the suit and then like the tail would go brr, brr, like that. It'd just be like two nuts just going. Brr, brr.
When you fly, your balls just wiggle.
I
Wow.
can fly with the power of my helicopter balls.
We're children.
Yeah.
We are
true.
just locker room children.
But wait,
okay.
there's more because I'm going to talk about the Tanuki Tasuki. That's right, spirit possession can be caused by humans and ghosts, but frequently it is the work of animals with supernatural powers. One of the most common animal possessions in Japan is called the Tanuki Suki, which is a possession by Tanuki spirits. When the Tanuki possesses human beings, their victims develop strange new personality traits. One of the most common change is gluttony. Victims become intensely hungry and eat, and eat, and eat, and even go so far as to eat spoiled and rotten food. Although possessed humans grow vast weights and become giant fat asses, all the nutrition goes to the Tanuki spirits.
And not
Victims,
their balls?
yeah, not their balls. Victims only grow weaker and weaker until they finally die from malnutrition. Other common symptoms of a Tanuki possession include unexplained illnesses, melancholy, becoming overly talkative, sudden outbursts of violence, or abnormally increased libido. My name is Buck, and I'm here to fuck.
Naughty Tanuki again.
Yeah. Tanuki possesses humans for various reasons, but the common one includes revenge for destroying a Tanuki's den, or simply, fuck 'em, I just want to pull a prank. In rare cases, some human families have harnessed the power of animal possessions for their own use. Some legends tell of people offering food to old wild Tanukis, taming them, and then using their spirits to possess their enemies. And because Tanukis are powerful yokai, it is difficult to escape a Tanuki Tasuki. Either the Tanuki must leave on its own will, or it must be driven out by a powerful Yambushi, priest, or Onamoji. Another solution is to deify the Tanuki. A Tanuki elevated to the level of Kami will no longer possess humans. Many villages, particularly in Shikiyu, have built shrines to worship particularly troublesome Tanukis.
Well, I'll be damned.
I'll be damned. But wait, there's more.
But wait.
But I'll let you do your part.
You're all right, man. Just to wrap up on the Tanuki, there's also an anime from Studio, oh god, I always pronounce this wrong, Ghibli,
yeah.
about Tanukis called Pompoko. It's about a group of Tanuki that are threatened by a gigantic suburban development project back in the 1960s. Well, I haven't watched it yet. I apparently don't have it on my long list of digital Studio Ghibli stuff, but I plan to. But apparently during the film, there's a giant parade of weird and traditional Japanese yokai, including the shirimi, that jumps out of a trash can and shows its little booty eyeball at the main character. So how's that for bringing things full circle?
Yep.
Isn't
I'm good.
that on Disney Plus? Isn't Studio Ghibli? Isn't that on?
Ooh, if it is, I'm watching that shit tonight, son.
Yeah.
I watch cartoon Tanuki throw their balls at fucking
Yeah, that's where it's
foresting
at.
companies.
So, bringing him back full circle, I'm going to go into a little art history time. So, we talked about the artist Utagawa Kuniyoshi, however you want to say it. Well, so not only did his original woodcut of the giant skeleton kind of start my love for Japanese folklore.
HBO Max, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But
Okay, real quick, folks. Yeah, this next part is definitely NSFW, as things get pretty graphic in Preston's description of these Japanese paintings. So please, again, mute your headsets, mute your speakers, turn the volume down low, whatever you got to do, because we don't need anybody getting in trouble. But yeah, fair warning, NSFW. Also, maybe put the kids to bed.
come to find out, he he was actually kind of like one of the first artists. So you get between 1842 and 1844. So that's kind of like in our time period, like the start of the Civil War. Like you got to think that far back, right? We didn't have comic books, but he was actually in the process of creating almost like a comic series, and he would release like these different prints with little backgrounds and stories. And so in all actuality, he is really one of the first comic book artists. And he made Tanukis popular. And he kind of, after he just kind of, Tanuki, and then what am I going to do now? Well, he started to work on a series of erotic paintings depicting human genitalia as angry demons. Now, this series is either is likely neither safe for work nor your sanity, and I've included some photos for Shawn to include in the Instagram. But I love the translation, so how this translates over to English for us, and so I've decided to go ahead and just do some of the translations for your listening pleasure. So first up, we have the pussy spirit of Kasain. And you can scroll down to the first photo there, and she's got some pussy lips for eyeballs and some pussy lips for lips.
God.
Yeah. And the next one, the cunt monk. That's right.
Fucking what?
The cunt monk is literally what it's called, and it's about a spirit that lives in the sea. And yeah. Moving on, we have the consoling pussy of Horseface Mountain, sometimes called Monk Riot.
The fucking hell?
And it's got a penis for a nose.
And
Maybe
it looks like booty cheeks for a hat and penises for eyes and a vagina for a mouth.
Yeah, and maybe octopussy for the Numeri River. That one's a little odd. And then we got the penis skeleton. That's right. It is like our first yokai that we talked about, but it's a skeleton made up of penises with a boner. getting ready to do some damage. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, look
I'm
at
not
that.
laughing at the sexual assault. I'm just laughing at the boner joke. Mercy.
And then
these are not for the faint at heart. Yeah.
My favorite, dripping mountain.
Oh my God.
And then we have sexy prick, big pussy.
Huh.
These are wild.
These
artwork is insane, dude.
There's a lot of pent up sexual frustration here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kinoyoshi, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just begging to be haunted, I think, by some of this shit. And
So yeah, it was it was really amazing to find out as I was doing research on some of the yokai that he really had a love for that side of the artistry, and he kind of took everything a step further. So he was kind of like the first comic book artist, so to speak, and then he hit everybody with this shit. Like, this was totally out of left field, but I dig it. So.
Yeah, well, it's time to get some of these blown up, Preston, and framed and put them in your studio wall.
Oh, I think so. Yeah,
and then just tell the
With
kids they can't come in Daddy's
bold
recording studio.
lettering
Yeah.
of the descriptions, the translations of what they're called too. Don't forget that.
You
key
definitely need Dripping Mountain.
Yeah, Dripping Mountain would really.
It's just two giant butt cheeks that are the size of a mountain with a vagina in the middle. Huh. Well, I'm gonna sit back in the driver's seat here and then give you a couple more of your special pills. We're going to take things back over to the Tenju Kudari, which you guys can see. It looks like a very hairy hag dropping down from a ceiling tile here. In Japanese language, the yokai's name means from the ceiling or descending from ceiling. Specifically, it refers to an obscene, extremely ugly, naked old woman who drops down from the ceiling for no reason other than to just simply terrify the inhabitants. Throughout the world, attics are viewed as creepy and secretive places, and in many books and movies, they predominantly featured a dark attic trope to scare people. Well, within the land of the rising sun, there's also been long stories of unwanted family members being confined into attics, with the Tenju Kudari itself being the product of such ritual legends. So yes, this thing is just a creepy, naked, older woman who has a snake-like tongue and drops out of the ceiling tiles just to yell at you and scare the living shit from you. And then we have the ever-popular Ashiarai Yashiki. It's just a giant disembodied hairy leg that's filthy as it is terrifying. This yokai busts through your ceiling and refuses to leave until you wash it. That's right, folks. It's a giant disembodied leg that stomps around and breaks all your shit by kicking it, and then begs you to give it a good wash, which is actually seen as demeaning in several cultures, which is a service it demands with a ghostly, thunderous voice. Wash me! One of the weirdest yokais ever, and undoubtedly one of the foulest too. Little else is known about this bizarre yokai. In fact, only one story is related to it. In the story, a samurai residing in Edo-e, Old Tokyo, in Edo, also known as Old Tokyo, was tormented by this creature night after night as it appeared and demanded the same leg washing service every night. However, after the samurai swapped residences with a friend, the yokai never again appeared. So yeah, after he moved out, it never happened again. So who knows if the samurai was haunted by this phantom leg or if it was just the house. Well, there you have it, folks. That is Yokai Part 2, also titled, let me scroll back up to the top of it here, Who's Still Tickling Your Booty Hole? All these episodes have alternate titles in the document that never make it to the actual posting. That does it for episode 250, our second episode about yokai. I just want to say a heartfelt thanks to all you listeners too, who have either just now discovered us or have been listening since the very beginning. It sure does mean a lot. We have so much more, planned ahead, so just stick with us. We'll give you guys some more information. With this episode, I believe our next episode, 251, I'm going to have Mark post that to the old feed, and then we will also have the new feed up by that time. We'll make some announcements on the social media. Like I said, the goal is to title the new podcast feed just simply Pixelated Paranormal. Same logo, same icon, same information, and I should upload all 255 plus episodes to that feed, so you'll just have to resub, unfortunately. But with that, we should be able to get back to some of those other podcasting services that somehow we got our feeds dropped on, so some good, some bad.
Yep. Yeah, we'll make it work.
Yep, most definitely.
When that officially happens, just people make sure you share it as much as possible.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, for sure. All right. Until next time, folks, please keep your eyes peeled on the social medias. At PXL Paranormal on Instagram. Facebook will stay the Pixelated Paranormal Podcast. Preston, any news on YouTube? Are we still just hovering right below 200?
Oh, no. I just I got on and checked it, and fuck me, 200 even. Look at that. 200 subscribers on YouTube, so let's keep that going. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic, man. Hell yeah. I like that a lot. And the YouTube upload should stay about the same. We're a few episodes behind because, Preston had to, injure his uploading hand.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, I don't like posting just the news ones that we do. It's really, really hard to kind of tag those and make it to where when people search up a topic. So typically the news ones, since they're shorter, I don't tend to put those on. So anything that's an actual topic, like this one or any of our cryptid encounters, those are the ones that go up. I think right now it shows like 145 or 146 videos. And we're at 250. So we've actually done about like 104, 110, something like that, news episodes. So,
holy shit, have we really? Wowzers.
Yeah.
Appreciate you working on that, man. That's tight.
Yeah, most definitely. Speaking of YouTube, new comment on episode 155, The Vertical Plane. This is from Lana Reed. Dude, I'm just trying to learn about this, and you go and kill me with a Waterboy quote. I'm at work and laugh so loud, people are looking at me like I'm crazy. You are welcome.
Awesome.
Hell yeah, that's terrific.
Look, you might not be able to have terrific testicles, superpowered balls, but let me tell you what you can have. You can have a superpowered terrific beard. And the way to do that is to go over to BigDobsBeardBomb.com and use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. Pick yourself up some scents like bay rum, Dundee cedar, sweet tobacco, fresh citrus, mint, and classic. And unlike all the other, tanukis that are laughing at Jerry for having small testicles, nobody's going to be laughing at you because your beard is going to be fucking amazing. You're going to be the talk of the town. So do yourself a favor, go over to Dobbs and get yourself some beard balm and some beard oil and some tattoo balm as well, because that shit's just as amazing as all the other crap that he has.
There you go.
True that.
Well said. All right. And if you're in the Wichita area, please stop by see our dear friend Leslie and the rest of the gang at CD Trade Post, Pawnee and Seneca. All righty. Well, if there's nothing else, I would love to say episode 250. Thanks for all the memories. There's so many more to share with you guys. And until next time, cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us that love to talk about it.
And stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.